I went for the shiny thing because it was so much more comfortable, right? Get a job at a firm, make, a good amount of money, pay off whatever debts you have prestige, be respected, be smart. And then then you'll be a partner and then you'll play squash every day and you'll join a golf club. And so I just went for that. And to be totally honest, like I was looking for something that I thought I could get from the outside, which was fundamentally is love, No, I'm doing the thing to like make my parents proud. Now I'm doing the thing that like in my community is respected. Now I'm going to be able to find a wife and have children and send them to camp and whatever. And that worked until it didn't.
Jordan Nahmias spent over a decade building a successful boutique law practice in Toronto's film and TV world. By all measures, he'd made it. But turning 40 brought a reckoning, culminating in his decision to leave the business that he'd built. In this conversation, we talk about quarter life and midlife crises, he's had both, the messy middle of identity shifts, and the hard-earned wisdom of learning you can actually fire clients or even walk away from a career that isn't serving you anymore. Jordan also shares what it's like to help lawyers and professionals reorient towards joy, the wounded healer role that he now inhabits, and why our ghosts, the old identities that we can't quite let go of, still deserve a little respect. Let's dive in.
I was turning 40. I was like, okay, I've been practicing law for 12 years ish. And I was always just like, I was never going to do this long. I was going to be out of this by 40. I was going to be doing something so much more interesting. And I was like, when am I going to get back to making art? And when am I going to get back to doing all these things I said I'd do? And it was just like, I mean, really, it was a midlife crisis. And by the way, not my first. I mean, like I probably went through something similar in my early to mid 20s.
So you had your quarter life crisis.
Oh yeah, right on schedule. Yeah. I'm waiting for the next one at 75, hopefully. But yeah, like it's funny, you think, I don't want to say you, I thought that, like this isn't really going to be a thing. But then there was a deeper part of me that knew, like in the lead up, even when I was younger, just being like, if you keep putting these things off, it's going to come back and really like, it's going to be harder. Like my therapist even was, when I was going to leave law, my therapist was even like, Jordan, you will not be able to do this at 50. Like it will be much harder. And I guess that's when I was turning 40. And that's actually when I left law. I remember my 40th birthday party, sitting at dinner with my parents and my wife. I think my brother and my sister-in-law were there. And I'd already left. Like they already knew, because this was in March and I had left in like December. But I remember thinking like, oh my God, like I'm 40 and I just left this very stable yet painful profession. And what the hell am I doing?
So we caught up like 2 weeks ago, but one of the last times that we spoke before that, we were in a sauna at Burning Man, which by the way, like, sounds like an insane thing to do, to go into a sauna in the middle of the 100-degree desert, but it makes a lot of sense. Like burners will know exactly what we're talking about. And I think that you had just left the law at that point, or were in the process of winding things down. You were still introducing yourself to people as a lawyer. That was still like an identity that you associated with. But I remember you were like, oh yeah, and you got up there and like you were DJing and you're talking about your photography as well. And it felt like you were really in transition. And I would say at that time, like I was still fully a lawyer. I was like, I am in my dream job and look at me and I am so fancy and I am so happy, but am I so happy? But it seemed like we were both like in the process of imagining other things. So it seems like we have both gone through pretty remarkable transitions. I won't say seated at the burn, seated long before, but like maybe with some catalyzing.
Yeah, I will say that the funny thing about, so I was invited to, boy, how do I go? I had a friend, you know, my friend Michael, who you know from the
Mhm.
Berm. He had been on me for years, being like, "You really need to come to Burning Man." And I think he saw that it was just something that would resonate with me, and also that he saw that I was frustrated with life, and so he's like, "Yeah, this will open up your mind to some things." The first time I went, I remember that did plant a bit of a seed, because it was like, "Oh, whoa, people live differently. Like,
Mm.
what is this?" Uh, and notwithstanding that I'm not a conventional guy, but even still, this was way outside of my norm. And
Mhm.
then the second time in 2022, so yes, I was out of law about a year at that point, maybe a little less. But yeah, I was still. There are still days today where I'm like, like when people ask, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I used to be a lawyer." So even though I'm not practicing, I still
Mhm.
frame my identity in terms of this thing that is in the past, because it's the most stable thing that I can name in order to orient others. Which, by the way, in my mind feels kind of false, because, like, first of all, what do I need to orient them for? I don't, right? Like, this is about their comfort, not mine. And that's
Mm.
not necessarily fair to myself. And then change fundamentally requires recognizing the death of something, and
Mm.
then sitting in this messy middle and like just being there for as long as it takes. And then once you have fully grieved or mourned the death of the thing, that's when you can have the new beginning. And so for me, it's still challenging to really mourn, like the end of not only the career, but also the identity that is attached to the career. I mean, last
Yeah.
week I was like really in it. I was like, oh boy, I need to go back to law. Like, I need
Whoa.
more work or more money or something, right?
Yeah.
And then this week it's better. But the point is, it was just like, okay, like that part of you, frankly, I don't think it ever dies. I think it's just because, like, you're trained as a lawyer. It's like, it's buried in there.
Mhm.
But I do think that, allowing it to have its space, and yet also kind of not like answering to it, being like, yeah, I see you're there, but it's a ghost. It's like when you lose somebody and they
Mm.
come to you and you're like, okay, yeah, I remember you, but like you're not real right now. Like the memory of you is real, but you're not real.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No, it does. It's interesting thinking of it as a ghost that's in the room, I think is an interesting frame because on the one hand, I think to your point, you absolutely want to be like, you're not real, or like, you're not, the active energy here. You're this imprint. Um, but just like if there were actually a ghost in the room, you'd probably want to honor it and be like, yeah, like, you had a lot of wisdom to share and you have some things. So, like, maybe I'll make some room to hear them, to hear that perspective. There's a lot of frameworks, there's a lot of behaviors and attitudes that we learned as a lawyer. They were traumatizing, but they were gifts too, and they had their wisdom, and they still potentially have that application in certain ways. I think it would be very hard for your clients to take your work and perspective and wisdom seriously were it not for, you know, the 12 plus years you also had as a lawyer. Like it might be hard for you to see them through the transitions, the mindsets, the behaviors, the attitudes, the pressures, financial, familial, social, right? That they're experiencing without you having gone through that.
a lot of it is like a wounded healer type
Mhm.
framework, which I tend to think about a lot, which is there is no way I'm going to have any credibility if I haven't been through any of it. And maybe that's a glib way of approaching it. It's more like having tasted it. And I think it's very hard to work with people when you actually haven't been through it. And it's funny, as I'm saying that, I'm remembering like when I started out in legal practice, I had a hard time getting clients because they're like, I was on my own. I didn't work for a firm, and I was trying to do entertainment law, which is like really hard to get into.
Mhm.
And most people were like, not only have you not done the work, but you haven't even been in the business. So you haven't experienced, you know, the joy and suffering of being a filmmaker. And they were right at the time. And I noticed over the years, and I notice it now as well in my current work, but the more you can say, get it, as in like, yeah, like I really get it, right? Not only is it maybe you do better at your work or not, right? But like you can connect. Like there's this Venn diagram of, experience that happens, and you can connect with people like at a more like soulful level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting that way. And
Yeah.
going back to Burning Man, it's like everybody there is kind of a seeker. Maybe they don't want a new career, but they're looking for something.
Yeah, definitely.
And so like I feel like that you can attune yourself to people that way.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back quite a bit. Like, why did you even become a lawyer in the first place?
My
Like,
God,
what
why?
did you think the profession would give you? What, talk about seekers, right? Like law students are seekers. Like we are seeking something and
Mhm.
deciding to go down this insane path.
Man, how far back do I go? I was a philosophy major at like a small liberal arts college, and so I had like one prof that I was very tight with, and I took all my courses with him.
Mm.
And and he was like, Jordan, you should really consider writing your LSAT. And I was like, okay. Like I really had never considered it because lawyers, like it's boring, paper pusher. Like I don't want to do that.
You're like, I hate those people.
And then I wrote the LSAT. I did well. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to apply to a school, and then that's it. So
Hmm.
you're on the track. Like it is a well-worn groove, and once you're in it, it's really easy to stay on it. And when I
Right.
tell people this, they're like, "What are you talking about? Law school is so expensive. It's so hard to get into." Yeah, all of that is true. And yet, once you've made the choice, you are like in it, and the blinders are on.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in a lot of ways, it's the path of least resistance. And a lot of people I work with and people I don't work with, we often agree like it's the thing that smart people do when they don't know what to do. So, pat myself on
Cool.
the back. Yes, I'm smart, and I didn't really know what to do. I also think I was I was too afraid of doing what I really wanted to do.
Mm. What was that? What did you really want to
I
do?
always wanted to be an artist.
Okay.
Yeah, I always wanted to be an artist. And I remember my dad saying to me, "Well, what are you going to do with an art degree?" He's like, you should go be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer or a dentist or an architect or something. But I was like, yeah, okay. So what do? I take the path of least resistance. I do what all my buddies are doing. I remember having this moment in the first year of law school. It's like maybe the first month, maybe the second month. And I'm in like the foyer of the school and I'm on the phone with my mom, I remember. And I'm just being like, this was a huge mistake. Like, why did I do this? These are not my
Mm.
people. This is ridiculous. Like, not only do I not care to study this much, but also like I love learning, but like I don't need to be reading 800 pages a day.
Yeah.
Like it's just like this is not meaningful to me. And I was like, I think I'm going to drop out and I'm going to go back and apply to like an art school or like get an MFA or something.
Hmm.
Um, and I never did
Why not?
because I saw the shiny thing, and I went for the shiny thing instead because it was so much more
Mm.
comfortable. Right? It's like great, like you're gonna because like there's like look, you can choose the super hard life, right? And which by the way may not have been that hard, or I can choose what is this easier life, which a lot of people think is
It's
harder.
really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like get a job at a firm, make a good amount of money, pay off whatever debts you have quicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have prestige, be respected, be smart, like all the stuff that comes with that. And then like, yeah, then you'll be a partner and then you'll play squash every day and and you'll join a golf club. And so I just went for that. And to be totally honest, like I was looking for something that I thought I could get from the outside, which fundamentally is love, but it's mostly just like, okay, like now, I'm doing the thing to like make my parents proud. Now I'm doing the thing that like in my community is respected.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to be able to find a wife and have children and send them to camp and whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And that worked until it didn't.
Mm. So you became an entertainment lawyer.
Well, no, not immediately.
Not immediately.
No.
Okay.
We have articles here. So, which is kind of like a pre calls to the bar internship, and you have to do it
Mm.
for 10 months. and you do it on rotation. So if you're in a bigger firm, you cycle through departments. So I cycled through all my departments. I did my articles, and then I remember like at the end at hirebacks, they're like, we're not hiring you back. Yeah. Now this is yeah, it sucked. It really sucked.
That
I
must have been such a blow to the
Oh yeah,
ego.
I cried a lot. Yeah, I
Yeah.
cried. Yeah, I cried a lot. Because also remember, like that was it. I was like, great. Like the dream is dead. They set you up with different mentors when you're like articling and summaring and all
Mhm.
that. And I remember my mentor, and she was like, Jordan, like you're not built for this. And she was right. I like to believe that she was saying it in this like very compassionate way, which is just like, you are not the person who wants to do this. And like, you just don't know it yet.
Did you receive it that way at the
No,
time? Okay.
no. At the time, I was like, I am a failure. Like, I'm not the guy who's going to grind it out. No, honestly, I really wasn't. Like, I would leave the office at like 4:30 every day to go to a yoga class, and then I would go back. I would
Okay.
always go back, right? But that's also the time when like, the partners are walking around looking
It's
who's
I'm
still
like,
there.
"That guy. I know that guy."
Yeah,
I was rolling my eyes at that
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah. You leave your jacket on the back of the chair to make them think you're there. Yeah,
"Be right back."
yeah, yeah. I mean, frankly, I credit yoga for like keeping me sane through all that. But even
Mhm.
still, like, there was somebody at that firm who used to be like, she's like, you're a Renaissance man. She's like, this is not you. It might have been me if I had practiced for 30 years and then, slowed down.
Mhm.
But no, it wasn't. Yeah, I didn't get hired back. And then I was like, well, like it really gave me pause because I was just like, wait a minute, like, do I even want to do this? In hindsight, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm. Mhm.
And so I start interviewing at these firms, and I'm just like, this is really soulless.
Mhm.
I went to Morocco for a month alone. I did my yoga certification for a month in Toronto, and then I had a couple months to like do some work. And at the end of that, I was like, I'm not going back to law. I'm going to teach yoga and like just take pictures. So, my parents blow a gasket. Everybody around me is like, you're totally insane.
Mhm.
I might have been. I have no idea. And that was it. And then for like a year, that's what I did.
So you actually did that. You actually stepped off the I didn't know this.
Yeah. So did that, managed to keep me afloat. And then I started getting itchy and also starting feeling kind of like ashamed and like,
Mm.
well, guilt and shame related, but a mix of those two things. You're not using your degree. You wasted all this time and money. You wasted your family's time and money. How are you going to put your kids in school? How are you going to send your kids to summer camp? How are you going to have a house? How are you going to live in Toronto? Just stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe there's a way. In this time, I had also started a film festival in the city.
Cool.
Yeah. So we were an outdoor film and music festival. We ran for 10 years until COVID. And it was a lot of fun, ton of work. I met great people through it. I was always a film lover, and I'm learning a little bit more about the business. And I'm like, okay, the only way I'm going to be able to practice law is if it is related to art. And the only way to really do that in Canada is in the film business.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to become an entertainment lawyer. And like, I bless my naivete because when you know how hard something is or how ridiculous something sounds, you
Yeah.
don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, nah, I don't know anything about this. So
I'll
why
just
would
do
I'll
that.
just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just do it. Yeah. It's like people who run a marathon like without training and they're like, oh, I'll just do it. It's fine. And then they do, right? And then they hurt, but they do.
Mhm.
So that's what I did. So luckily I had this pedigree with this firm that I articled at who has a very good entertainment department. And so I spoke to them and and then I just networked my face off like a million coffees and
Mm.
lunches and like begging and scraping to talk to people. And then in the meantime, I hung a shingle. And at the beginning, it was like a generalist corporate. I mean, I basically took anything. I still
Mm.
had the festival. I was still photographing. I was still teaching yoga. Like the first couple of years of starting any business are fun because it's all new and you're networking a lot and you're learning a ton, right?
Yeah.
And the stakes were low. I got lucky with a couple of really good referrals and they were film producers. And I was also doing like video game work. And video gaming is all really licensing. So I learned how to be a good licensing lawyer first. And then I learned how to be a good film and TV lawyer second. And then once you're a really good film and TV lawyer, you're really just a banking lawyer. because it's really just finance work. So you end up becoming this interesting jack of all trades, which I
Mhm.
like. And I was on my own for about 4 or 5 years. Then I merged with another firm, great people, wasn't the right fit. And then one of the guys there and I decided to set up our own shop. And we practiced together probably 4 years, 2007,
Wow.
2021. Yeah. And like, I mean, it was the real deal. Like, so, there was us, two partners, we had associates, an assistant, we had an office. I mean, it was very real. And we did very well.
Mm.
And then I just hit a wall. I hit a wall. And it's funny, like the guy, so the firm that I had like the not the right fit with,
Mhm.
one of the partners there, who he's been doing this a really long time, like probably 40 years, maybe longer. He called me up when he found out that I was leaving practice, and he's like, "Oh, you finally woke up." And so it's interesting when
Wow.
yeah, it's interesting when you hear that, because it's just like, whoa, like was it that obvious to these people like all along?
Yeah, all these people are like,
Yeah,
"Jordan, what are you
yeah,
doing?"
yeah,
It's interesting because I do feel like a lot of us were like, "Oh, well, I'll marry my passion with, something that makes me a lot of money or that carries this prestige or whatever." And on the one hand, it sounds like a really rational thing to do, "Oh yeah, yeah, you'll make a bunch of money, you'll be close to the thing that you're actually passionate about." But I feel like that's a trap. It's like, actually, why don't you just be in the place that you actually want to be versus, they're like, I'm passionate about art. And then you turn out into being like a glorified, highly specialized finance lawyer.
yeah, 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 exactly.
And you're like, wait, this isn't what I want to be doing. This is
Yeah.
terrible.
It's like you look at the peak of the mountain, and then you get there and you realize, wait a minute, this is not the view I wanted, right?
Mm,
And it's a
mhm.
weird thing, because I don't regret any of it, right? Like it's hard, right? But I don't regret it, because I wouldn't know what I know now if I hadn't gone through all of that. So, and I also know, like, the grass, it's not that the grass is always greener, but like the other island always looks better.
Yeah.
It's like from this shore, that place looks good. And then I get there and it's like, wait a minute, they don't have, burgers here. Okay. Like going back to the other island. So that's this perpetual thing, which I actually like. The concept of the other island I got from a book called The Dude and the Zen Master. It's a conversation between Jeff Bridges and Bernie Glassman. Yeah, yeah, I'm a big Lebowski fan. So yeah.
Yeah, and Bernie Glassman, for people who don't know, he's like a Zen master, but he's not your traditional Zen master where you're like, oh, the stare at the white wall and like don't
Yeah,
think about anything
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like he's out there in the community doing a lot of like social activism
yeah,
type of work.
yeah.
So take me to the moment. What made you actually decide to leave? Like when did things finally blow up, or when were you finally willing to say like this isn't what I want, this isn't working for me?
In my mind, it is a perfect example of like epistemological dissonance, right? Where like I know, for so long, and I am not acting on it. And like, it's just like this conscious choice to not act for years and years and years. And when it started getting like really real, was I'm like, I can see myself in the camera, like rubbing myself, like this is such an exhausting concept. Probably like the beginning of COVID, there was a lot going on. So first of all, it's COVID, right? So like the
Mhm.
sky is falling. And also like, especially here, like the lockdowns were pretty severe. So we're not doing anything or going anywhere. And then the film business itself just died. Like it just died for
Oh,
like
yeah, because you weren't allowed to do anything, right? Projects
nothing.
were totally on hold.
Everything was on hold. The laws were changing. People were freaking out. Now,
Wow.
that wasn't bad for lawyers, because, as you know, when things are really good, it's good for law. And when things are really bad, it's good for law. So we were negotiating a lot of force majeure provisions and trying to understand, well, what's the law and how do you keep people safe on set? And so, like, it's not that there wasn't work to do, but at least for a month or two, the shock of it kind of like paralyzed everybody.
Yeah.
Before COVID hits, I had already started talking to a career coach, right?
Hmm.
Being like, what do I do? I know that this is not for me, and I'm really starting to get itchy. And once COVID hit, then I panicked, which is really interesting, because in hindsight, that would have been the time.
Yeah.
Like it would have
Yeah,
been
like,
like, you know
easy
what?
peasy, here's your off ramp.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't. I doubled down again. Every time I had a chance to get out, I doubled down. It's like you just cling even more to the thing that you know is comfortable, right? And so then we had our daughter, Nellie. So I remember coming home and just like continually feeling worse about like, I'm coming home every day to see my kid. At some point, my kid is going to understand, and I'm gonna have to keep telling them like, oh, you know, you can do what you want to do in life within reason, right? But meanwhile, I'm like slogging it out with this thing that I absolutely hate. And I'd had a lot of conversations with people, and there's one a producer client slash friend of mine. I remember telling me, he's like, my bar is 20%. He's like, if I hate more than 20% of what I'm doing, he's like, it's not for me. And yeah, and I was like, it's not the worst paradigm.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, I hate like 80% of what I'm doing. Like, this is crazy. And then in the middle of the summer, this is like June 2021. I got into this, I don't know, fight with one of my longest standing clients, and we were very close, very
Mm.
close.
Mhm.
Like, I don't need to get into it, but we had worked with each other for like 10 plus years, and I was just treated so poorly. And I've been treated poorly. You're a lawyer, like you get
Yeah.
used to it.
You're like, "I'm used to getting yelled at."
Yeah, like you want to yell, fine, right? But like this was just the one time I could not let it roll off. I don't know why,
Mm.
and I ended up firing them,
Hmm.
and that was really hard for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it still is. Like to think like, oh wow, that's like a long term relationship that you've ended because we've never spoken since. But then I was like, whoa, wait a minute, you can fire people. Like you don't have to do this. You don't have to like continually expose
Mm.
yourself to this bullshit.
Mhm.
And so then that started. Now, on one hand, I'd given up a massive chunk of revenue losing this client, which also affected my firm and my partner and my employees. And then on the other hand, I was like, maybe I just don't need to do this. So it opened up this like very terrifying idea of like, oh, whoa, like you could actually fire all of them if you had to. Yeah.
That is interesting, right? Because it became a categorical thing, right? Of like, if you can fire one, you can fire them all.
Had been calmer or more centered. I perhaps would have just created better boundaries.
Mm.
Maybe there is a way to like scale it back. Maybe I could have gone to part-time. And then I have to remind myself, or frankly have like friends of mine remind me that no, Jordan, you know how it goes. You take in one client and then
Mm.
they tell somebody else and then they call you. And like, if you're a person who doesn't know how to say no, which by the way, I am, then like before you know it, you're going to be overwhelmed again.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, like that's me. That's not law. Like in my work now, I know I will do it again. Now, will I
Mhm.
quit again? No, I hope not, because I'm much more aware of like what I'm doing. And like I'm trying to be so much more intentional about it. Like I don't have blinders this time. Like to go back to something we were talking about earlier, the only reason I don't have the blinders is because I lived through it. So it's like I had to live through it in order
Yes.
to like change it now. And then also to be able to like help other people change it now. Right.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's tough. Like we carry ourselves around with us and like, what do you do?
But you know what? I don't know. It's like we beat ourselves up. I certainly beat myself. I'm like, why did I do that for so long? And I think there's a few things. One, I feel like bright, motivated, poorly boundaried people pleasers fill, all of the top law firms all over the entire world, probably. It's like that personality type, a couple exceptions, but that's usually what it is. And that's usually who does well. So one, we're a type, but two, it's like, I think we're here to like big picture, like we're here to be with experiences and learn from them. So like we wouldn't have made, I always am like, past Allie would not have made a different choice. She was not configured to do that. So, as much as, those people were telling you all along the way, like, Jordan, get out. This isn't your path. This isn't for you. There's not a version out there of you probably who would have listened to
No.
them.
I mean, you can't make somebody drink the water.
Mm.
Like they're gonna they're gonna drink it on their own terms.
Mhm.
So I just had to wait.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you're doing now.
I work with people and then also teams to become more self-aware and more insightful about the work that they're doing and to be more themselves both at
Mhm.
work and at home based on the fundamental like theory I have, which is that like they're not separate, right? Like it's all the same thing. And so to the extent that you can integrate all of that, then, I think people are they'll do better in general.
Mhm. What are the backgrounds of of your clients, at least as of today?
I get a lot of lawyers who want to
Mhm.
leave law. I think it's just
Mm.
my story. I'm not a proponent of that, right? Like it's you can do law really well and be happy in it. It just takes a lot of work and like a lot of intention and awareness and being like clear on why you're doing it, right?
Mm. Mhm.
So I don't push people in any one direction or not, despite me having made my own choice. So I get a lot of lawyers. I get a lot of other professionals who are kind of like at career plateaus. So they're going back to like that mountain thing I said earlier.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I checked off all the boxes. Like, why am I not happy? Wasn't I supposed to be happy with this? So I get a lot of that, and a lot of the work I do with people is values work. So it's like a lot of connecting with why they're doing things, what really matters to
Mm.
them,
Mhm.
how they feel about it. A lot of, especially folks like us. I mean, I hope I'm not being presumptuous in saying this. Actually, maybe I shouldn't say you. You are very emotionally attuned. I am less so. But like, let's call them like intellectual professionals.
Mm. Mhm.
Like we live up here, right? And I think that there's this whole world that we've kind of ignored or like been trained to ignore, which
Yeah.
is like this sort of emotional somatic place. So I do a lot of work with people on that as well, and really just starting to get back to understanding like, but how do you actually feel? Like, not what do you think? How do you actually feel?
No, I struggle with this too. It's like I am in touch with my emotions, but then I just very quickly suppress it. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't have time for that.
yeah, I know. I think myself out of all sorts of things. So that's the individual side, and then the let's call it the team side of my work is so a lot of it is leadership training, but through like an awareness lens. So it's becoming more aware of like how is your personality playing into how you lead? How is your emotional intelligence playing into how you lead? How is the way you communicate playing into how you lead, right? Like, how
Mm.
are you working with people's needs and wants and your own needs and wants? And a lot of language, like I'm big on how we speak with one another and relate to one another. So a lot of my leadership work is around that. And then specific topics are like inner critic. So really just navigating how are you working with this thing in your head
Oof.
that's yeah. Yeah.
Oof. I know
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Don't we all? Don't we all? Yeah. So a lot of that, and also I'm really big on mentorship. So I do a lot of work around
Mm.
mentorship.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, those are sort of the areas that I'm really into right now. And what I like about the work is that it lets me be really creative in how I address it, and also I get to talk with people. Like that was my favorite thing about law, which was
Mm.
just all the networking and speaking to people and learning about people. And so this lets me do that in a different way, but frankly, I think it's a more human way. And in the film business, you get to know your clients really well.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that a lot of my clients would come to me with these problems that they were dealing with, and they were never legal. It was like, yeah, sure, that's the legal issue, but like, what is the actual thing here, right? Like, so this person needs, to have a double, what we would call, let's say, a triple banger, which is a 3-room trailer on set. Okay. So it's like they need to have a triple banger to themselves. Why? It's like,
Mm.
and then you have to ask, well, why? Are they that famous? Like, is it the ego? Is it the agent that wants it and the actor actually doesn't care? What is
Mm.
the human thing that is motivating this?
Mhm.
So I always enjoyed that more than drafting.
So you said that when you're coaching lawyers, it tends to be lawyers who are considering leaving the profession, want to leave and you said that that's not always the solution. I'd be curious from your perspective, what are some of the elements that can support someone in staying in the profession and even thriving in it?
That's a really good question. The first thing is like I think people need to take a really good long look at themselves, which is hard when you're in practice.
No, I just want I don't have time and it's all of their faults and it's the profession's fault.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's taken me a long time to stop blaming the profession.
Mm.
I think you have to take a really good long look at yourself, which is hard when you're serving other people all the time, right? Like we are oriented in the profession to actually be more concerned about others. So first is like really spend time. Like what do you care about? Like why are you doing this? And by the way, if you're doing it because you want to make money, and I want to make money too, so there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like then great, but just be clear on it, right? If you're doing this because you want to help people, great. Now examine, are you helping people? But you have to then check, like, what's the feeling I'm having? Am I actually taking, like, is this actually filling my cup?
Yeah.
So, because there's no wrong value, right? Like, you just need to be clear on what they are for you. So that's the first thing I usually do with people. It's like, let's just talk about like what actually matters, right? And then it's like, okay, great. Now, where does what you're doing not align with that? Because if you're seeing these major gaps, then okay, what do you do? Is there, for instance, a practice area that more aligns with it, right? There might be. Or is it a lifestyle choice where you need to potentially, let's say, work less and then engage in something that is more meaningful to you or fills your cup more, right? That could be volunteering. That could be art making. That could be spending time with your kids. That could be going on runs. That could be traveling alone. It doesn't matter, right?
Hmm.
The point is that if you're not getting it there, then you've got to get it somewhere else, right? Now, I'm fully cognizant of the fact that like leaving law is very challenging, especially when you've been in it for a while. Like
Yep.
you're making probably good money. There's identity stuff that, going back to what we were talking about earlier, that comes with that. And, that's like shedding a skin. Like that is painful. So I also frankly ask people like, look, if you really want to leave, like, I'm not trying to scare you out of it, but like, are you prepared for both financially what you need to do, but also like emotionally? Because like, if not, then we actually need to work on that first. Right? Like you're
Mm-hmm.
not going anywhere until we work on that. And once people feel more resourced, there's this magic thing that happens where like sometimes they'll be like, oh, wait, I actually am so much better with myself and what I know about that. I realize it's not the work. I don't need to leave the work. I can just change how I do my work.
Mm.
And then other folks are like, no, 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 no. Like my soul is something else, and I need to actually pursue that. Right. And then it's the question of how.
Yeah.
So once we go through all the sort of awareness work and values work and kind of like, I don't know, choice point work, right? Because there is like this point where it's like, okay, you're aware of this resistance that you're going to face. Like, if you want to go through that, this is where you make the decision, right? Then we have like actual strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, okay, so now what are you doing? So one thing I often have people or invite people to do is if you're exploring either a different practice area or a different career altogether, you need to start making a list of all the people that you want to talk about it with, because you need to actually understand whether what they do lines up with what matters. From the
Yeah.
outside, I used to get so many calls from people being like, "Oh, I want to be an entertainment lawyer. Teach me. How do you do this? Let me work for you." And I would always be like, you're still a lawyer when you do this. Like,
This is the secret that no
yeah,
one will tell you.
like I'm not at parties all the time and like hanging out with Charlize Theron, who for the record I've never met and will never meet, right? Like it's it's like you're working at a desk negotiating. I mean, like it's legal work. Like, yeah, so I get to see some films. Like that's great. But like
Yeah.
I would much rather watch a film and not be then waiting around for the credits to see who did the legal and looking for mistakes. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a cost to that. So I think like you need to speak to people to kind of wear the sheen off things that look like, to go back to Burning Man, everything is shiny at Burning Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you like turn around and you're like a squirrel. It's like, oh, shiny thing. I'm going to go over there now. And sometimes you go to the thing that's in the middle of the desert and you realize this is not that good. Right. So it's like really a lot of research and then spend time with them. So once you like, if you think this is the thing, great. Now date. So you spent 5 hours talking to them. Now spend 5 weeks with them.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow, get a part-time job, volunteer, take a course, whatever, right? Like see if it's actually the thing that you are really into. And then after that, it's like, great, now you can get married. And
Yeah.
by the way, you might get divorced, but
And that's fine. But at
and that's
least like
fine.
you've tried it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then okay, great. You've done enough of the testing to know that okay, it's worth me taking the shot on this. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's really helpful because that also you see this with a lot of people who are artists where they're like, I'm just going to go be an artist and I'm just going to make art all the time now and I'm going to that is a super hard life. But also there's something that happens like when you take a passion and make it work. It's called work for a reason. Like it's not all pleasure all the time.
Mm.
So be careful about that. Doesn't mean that you can't become an artist. It just means like, are you taking do you understand what you're taking on when you take that on? I guess like my therapist used to say to me all the time, because I would always compare myself to everybody else and like, oh my God, their life is amazing and they have it so much easier and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, yeah, maybe. She's like, but do you want their whole life?
Yes.
Because you can't get that without having their whole life. And I was always like, no, their life sucks. But yeah, there's like a lot of very intentional map making that goes into it.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's the same with teams and companies. It's like, let's get aware of what's going on an organizational level. Let's get to like the reasons underneath why that's going on, right? And then let's start to build a strategy as to, okay, how are we going to shift that in a way that like is not only, it's like it's not fixing anything. Like I don't really believe people are like and teams are to be fixed. It's mostly just like, can you remember the part of you, right? Or the part of your company that knows how to do this? Because if you can, then it's like great. You're back to like coming up with your own solutions and you have a long-term plan for how to do this. It's not just like a weekend thing. And you're able to recognize like when you're veering off path.
Totally makes sense, totally makes sense. And Jordan, I actually think that's a perfect note to end on. Like, I think that these are some great tactics, both for individuals and companies to think about, like, how do I reorient? If folks are curious to learn more about you, to engage with your work, where can they find you?
Best place is my website. So it's JordanNahmias.com. And then on LinkedIn, I do a lot of things there. I have a Substack.
Yeah, shout out Substack.
Yeah, yeah. So you can find me there too.
Really recommend follow along. And then what about if people are interested in following along with any of your DJing, photography? Where's that?
Now you really buried the lead on these questions, man. The DJ stuff is like a very sporadic thing. So when
Mm,
I get invited to do a gig, I'll do it. There is, I think, a section on my website for my photography.
cool. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your experience, your wisdom. It's
Thanks,
fun
Natalie.
just hanging with you.
I know. I love this. We got to do this more often.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.